Hi, and I want to welcome you to my YouTube channel. My name is Amy and today I'm going to be teaching you how to do this pin curl bouncy blow dry on yourself. And this technique is a really good one for anyone who's going on a night out or you're going to a wedding where you need your curls to stay in all day. And in this video I'm going to teach you all the techniques that you need to know on how to do it on yourself, and I'm going to also talk through all the products which I use on my hair. And this is actually my first video which I've done in a while, so if you are new to my channel and you want to see more hair and makeup videos, then click the subscribe button below. Anyway, we'll go into the tutorial now. So to begin with, I've just washed my hair as normal, shampooed and conditioned it, and all I've done is blow dry it all straight with a round brush, and I did blast the top area off upside down just to give my roots a little bit of a lift. And before I blow dried my hair, I applied 3 products while the hair was still damp. First product is a natural hold mousse. It's a really old-fashioned product, mousse, but I absolutely love it. My favourite is this Weller one. It's so good because you only need a little tiny bit. It gives it a bit of hold, but it doesn't make the hair feel sticky or tacky. What I'd recommend you do with this is put a tiny little bit in your hand while it's still damp, rub it together so it evens it out slightly, and then just dab it onto your roots, and then just gently like work a little bit through your mid-lengths and ends. Next, I applied some heat protector. The one which I used was the Weller Thermal Image, and all I did with this was shake it up, spray it through the mid-length ends of my hair while the hair was still damp, and then I just dried it in. And then lastly, I applied some of the Colour Wow Dream Coat, which is literally a dream coat because when you use this on the hair, it puts a coating on the hair which is going to stop it frizzing in any humidity. So if you've got the sort of hair which as soon as you go outside on a damp day it just frizzes up, this will be a really good product for you. So now that my hair is all completely dry and straight, next thing I'm going to do now is use my curler. I'm going to be using the GHD Curve Curler, and I'm going to be putting curls in my hair with the curler, and then before we let them drop, what I'm going to do is catch the curl while it's still hot, warm. I'm going to keep it round on itself, and then I'm going to be twisting that curl upwards and then using a pin. These are the pins which I'm going to be using, which are these little metal ones. Oh, sugar. You can get them off Amazon. I will link them below. But don't worry, if you've got none of these, then I would recommend that you just use like a normal curvy grip. These are absolutely fine to use. What you might find with these traditional curvy grips is you might need to put one grip one way and then get another grip and grip it that way to secure the curl round on itself. Now, when you are doing pin curls on yourself, we're going to start at the front, and then we're going to work our way to the back. Now at the front you'll be able to see, because obviously you can see the front of your head is fine. But once we get to the back, don't panic because you won't be able to see. So that's why, just get them as perfect as you can, but don't put too much pressure on yourself. And before you start, I'd recommend that you have a good think about how you want your blow dry to look. So do you want your curls to kind of be all bouncy in all different directions, or do you want it to sit more like sort of a wave coming away from your face? If you want it to sit in all different directions and bouncy, then I'd recommend that when you do your pin curls, just pin them up in all different directions. So under, over, to the side. Whereas if you want it to be more sort of like framing away from your face, I'd recommend that you split your hair into 2 down the middle at the back, bring it all forwards. And what I would recommend you do to get sort of like a perfect wave coming away from your face is pin all these curls facing this way and all these curls facing this way. So when you take your pins out later, you'll find that the hair will sort of like wave coming round in the same direction away from your face. And for mine, what I'm going to do is the curls which are going to be around my face, I'm going to angle them coming away, but all the ones around the back, I'm just going to angle them in all different directions. So I'm going to do a bit of both. So I'm going to get my curler, and I would recommend that when you're doing your sections, just use your hands, and they're not going to be perfect because you're just doing this on yourself. So I'm going to take a section ideally which is about a square rectangle section, quite big, sort of around here, can you see? So I'm going to get my large section of hair here, I'm going to get my curler, and then I'm going to angle that curl coming away from my face. And what I'm doing is I'm just gently like opening the clasp on the tongue and then feeding the piece of hair through. And it is always a bit tricky when you do the pieces around the front, because if you've got any kind of layers around the front, or any bits of shorter hair which is normal to have around there, you'll probably find that these sometimes can sort of like come a little bit loose, so just do your best. So you want to wrap it round. Once you've got that piece of hair all the way around the curler, and even make sure your end bit is wrapped all the way around as well, because otherwise you'll be left with a straight end. Leave it for a couple of seconds until you can feel that the hair's hot, but obviously not too hot. And then what you want to do is open your hand like this, and then open the clasp on the curler, and then if you open it up, it'll fall into your hand like that, okay? Now, let that cool just a second in your hand, but don't worry, you'll find that it won't be so hot that it'll literally burn your hand or anything. And get that curl in your hand and just twist it back on itself, and then it'll almost like a ring coming around, and I'm holding it with my hand at the base, sort of like near where my scalp is. Then I'm going to get my clip and I'm just going to clip that pin curl round at the base. There we go. And just make sure that is gripped down securely, so maybe give your head a little wobble. Once I've done my first one facing this way, I'm now going to do the same as what I've done on this side, but I'm going to face this curl coming away from my face this way. And I'm just going to use my finger to take my section, and I'm going to take it a similar size to the curl on this side, but don't worry, you're never going to get them all the same, so just try your best to get them a similar size. Another thing I'd say that when you're doing your sections is, the smaller your sections, the more curls you're going to have. The bigger your sections, the bigger curls you're going to have. But just when you're doing bigger sections, like mine are quite big, just make sure that the curls you're doing are going to be big enough to get around your curler, and also just make sure they're not too big to pin down. If you do take quite a big section and you want to pin it down, I would recommend definitely getting some firmer grips. If you haven't got any firm grips, then just pop a few more of the curvy grips in at the base to securely fasten the piece of hair down. So I'm going to get my piece of hair, and I can see with this piece of hair that there's like a few layers around the front there where they're shorter. So what I might find with those pieces are, when I do my curl, some bits might loosely come out, but just do your best to tease those pieces around the curl that you do. So I'm going to get my section of hair. I'm going to angle this one this way. What you'll probably find when you do this is you'll have one side which will be easier to do than the other side, depending on whether you're left or right-handed. I'm right-handed, so I usually find that this side is like the easier one to work on, whereas this side, it's always a bit more tricky. So I'm going to wrap that around like that. And as you can see, like then I was just trying to tease any loose hairs like around the curler. Make sure that I got my end bit wrapped around the barrel. I'm gonna let that settle a sec. And now with this side, before on this side, I could catch the curl in my hand. Now this side, as you can see, it's at a different angle because I'm right-handed. So once you get to your more awkward side, I'd recommend that you just kind of loosen the curl up and then catch it in your hand. Still, best you can. I know it'll be tricky, but just do your best to catch that curl while it's still hot in your hand, and just let it cool for just a second. So as you can see with this curl, I've let it cool in my hand for a couple of seconds, and now I'm twisting that back on itself, and then just at the base here, I'm now going to put a firm grip. There we go, looking good already. So the next curl which I'm going to do is going to be this one here. So now that I've done my first two, I'm then going to work downwards, and I'm probably going to do two on this side because I've got a bit more hair this side, and I'm going to do one on this side. So I'm going to take my next section downwards here, big piece of hair, and I'm going to get my curler, and I'm angling this curl coming this way. I promise you that once you get some practice in with doing the curls at all these different angles, you'll definitely be able to get the knack of it. And when you're doing this on yourself, it is so tricky. Obviously I'm a hairdresser, and I do find that when I do pin curls on myself, you do struggle, and it's because your arms, one, you can't see what you're doing, especially when you get to the ones further back, and it's difficult because when you're doing this, you're constantly trying to concentrate on making sure your curl is perfect, try not to drop it, make sure the angle's are the right way. So if you do give this a go and find it difficult, don't worry. I would recommend just keep practicing, and I promise you that it will get easier. As you can see, this side is so much easier to do than the other side. Also, you'll have to excuse how dark it is in this room which I'm in now. I don't know what is going on with our weather. It's literally 3 o'clock in the afternoon and I feel like it's about to go dark. There we go, these two are done here now. So we're going to move on to this side. So this side is a bigger section, so I'm now going to split this side into 2 curls here, and they're going to be angled coming this way. And because I'm going to split this section into 2, what I would recommend that you do is do the top one first and then work down. So I'm going to get that section as 1, split it in half with my finger, and then I'm going to do this curl facing this way. Another thing to watch when you're doing this is make sure that you don't burn yourself because it is so easy, especially when you've got a curler this close to your face, and also when you're sort of like trying to tease the end bit around the curler, just make sure you don't burn your fingers when you're doing that. So once you have fastened both sides in, you'll start to look really funny. So next thing you're going to do is just make sure that all of your hair at the back is forwards, and you've split it into 2 at the back, and you've got all the hair at the front of you. Because what we're going to do now is start to gradually work backwards, doing the same technique that we've just done, working front to back. And the next curl I would recommend that you do is behind. So you've done the front ones here, the next ones we're going to do are going to be just behind these ones here. The reason for this is I would always recommend that when you're doing this, you work top to bottom, and that is just so that you don't have hair dangling over the ones which you've already done. Whereas if you can pin the top section of hairs round on themselves, then they'll be out of the way and you can focus on doing the underneath. So I'm gonna again get a section of hair. I'm just randomly getting this. I can't see my section, so don't worry if it's not perfect size, as long as it feels similar to the ones that you've done at the front. And I'm just going to be angling this curl sort of any direction. It is still going to be slightly coming away, but I'm going to face it slightly upwards. And another trick for you if you're on your awkward side, what I would recommend that you do is get your curler like this, tip the curler upside down like that, and then catch your curl in the hand and gently loosen it. It is tricky, but again, it's easy. It's easy once you get practice in. Just so that curl will then fall into your hand and you can just let it cool for just a second. But as you can see, I'm grabbing the curl to make sure that it doesn't spring out of shape. This is why you'll always see girls in, like, especially Liverpool, but you do also see them in Manchester and London going on nights out with the hairs pinned up. It's because they are giving themselves a gorgeous bouncy blow like we're doing today. And when you do put the pin curls in further towards the back, just make sure that they are securely fastened down, and if not, then just go in with another pin. Just make sure that they feel secure. You won't be able to see them, but you'll be able to feel them. And if you do accidentally drop your curl, which when you first start to learn how to do this, you probably will, I'll show you what to do. So say if you drop the curl like that and it just falls out, while it's still warm and still hot, get it at the very bottom and wrap it back around on itself in the direction which you've just done that curl. And usually the hair, it will be warm when you do this, so just be careful of your fingers when you're doing this. You need to make sure that by the time it's wrapped back around itself, it's still warm. If it cools down and it feels cool, then the curl, it should stay well, but it won't stay as well as the other ones. So I'd recommend that you let it cool down and then you just redo your curl and just try and catch it again while it's warm. That's why the most important thing when you're doing this is make sure that when you are pinning these pin curls into position, the hair needs to feel warm. If for whatever reason it does cool, then let it cool completely and then just start again. Now, as you can see, this side is finished. I know that it's not much of a look, but let those ones cool now. And what I'm going to do is, just to quicken things up, I'm going to just do this side completely before I show you how to dress all the curls out. Once you have done all of your curls and you pin them round on themselves, the next thing which you need to do once these have all been securely fastened in is you need to just wait for them to cool down. So for this, I would recommend you probably take anything between 10 minutes and as long as possible to do. And that is why you'll see people, like I said before, walking around towns and stuff, because usually girls like to leave them in all day or most of the day, and then just before they go out they like to dress them all out so that the curls are really fresh. So I would recommend that if you're going on a night out and you are just getting ready and then go in, then you could put all of these in, do your makeup, and then dress them out just before you go. So for mine now, for quickness, I'm just gonna leave them in for 10 minutes and then come back and take them out and show you how to dress them out. So to begin with, when we put them in, we started at the top and we worked front to back. Now taking them out, we're going to work bottom to top and we're going to work back to front. All we're going to do now is take our clips out of the curl, and then you're just going to let the curl drop, and what you'll find is it'll be super springy. So the next thing which I'm going to need is a wide tooth comb, but to be honest with you, you could use any comb for this or any brush. I'm going to use a wide tooth comb, and this is just a Denman one. And I'm also going to be using some natural hold hairspray. So this is the Weller Performance one. So with your curl, once you take it out like this, it'll be really tight and springy. All I want you to do is just brush the curl through with your comb. And what that'll do is it'll just start to bounce up but sort of separate the hairs a little bit. Once you do this as well, what you might find is you might kind of start to lose the shape of the curl. If you do, just literally get your finger and just twist your finger around the curl, because at this point the goal is to just separate any hairs that might be tangled together, and it's just to sort of like create that nice soft curl we want, not sort of like too sculpted. Once you've done that, I would then get your hairspray and just spray it with a light bit of hairspray as soon as you've done this, just to give it a bit of hold. And that's why it's really important to use a natural hold hairspray rather than like a strong hold one, because we all want strong hold for our blow dries to stay in. However, there's nothing worse than seeing someone's hair where they move their head and the hair doesn't move. So I'm letting that curl drop, and then I'm just combing through the curl which I've just taken down, and then I'm twisting around my finger a little bit, and then I'm just gonna spray it with some hairspray. And then working through, I'm just working bottom to top, and then we're just gonna keep repeating this process until all of the pin curls are out. And when you're doing this, it might be a little bit fiddly because where you've put the pins in, there might be hairs in the way, so just get them out as gently as possible. And I know that it's a lot before a night out. That's why I feel like I only ever do this for big nights out because you definitely have to have the time to do it properly. And as you can see, these curls are bouncing up, so bouncy. And don't panic as well if your curls are feeling too curly, because that's completely normal. But this is why this technique is so good for anyone who's got finer hair, because what will happen is it'll be almost too curly to begin with, and then it'll drop throughout your night. You kind of want it to be more curly to begin with, so it's got that time to drop out throughout the night, because there's literally nothing worse than going out and by the end of the night your hair is flat as a pancake. And as you can see now, I've took those front ones out. They're kind of coming away from my face. That's why I'd recommend with the first few at the front, angle them coming away, whatever kind of style you want your blow dry to look. I'm going to do the same now on this side. So I'm just going to take them all out, and then we're going to do a few little finishing touches at the end, and I'll talk through that. So once you have taken them all out, it will be wild and so tight and curly. Then I would get your comb or your brush, and all you want to do is just gently start to brush all of those curls out and sort of like run your fingers through your hair. Another thing you'll probably find when you're doing this, it will just spring up in all different directions, and it can almost like lose shape sometimes and look a bit wild. So just keep brushing it through, and then just keep brushing it through just to separate any of those curls. And if you can see any areas where the curls are bouncing back on a funny angle, just get your fingers and wrap the curl round on itself just to rejig it back into position. And once you've done that, you'll be left with a nice springy bouncy blow dry. And lastly, to finish it off, I'm just going to spray it again with the natural hold hairspray, and that is how you do a pin curl blow dry on yourself. Now I want to thank you for watching my video today. I am going to link everything which I've used in this video in the description box below, and if you've got any questions or any feedback, then leave them in the comments. But I want to thank you for watching today, and I'll see you again next time. Bye bye.